Those of you who follow me on Facebook know I'm up to some pretty next level shenanigans. Case in point. Haha, you will see this very soon when I am done with it. However, in order to use something like that, well, we have to kick things up to the next level, or in fact, the maximum level. The maximum we could possibly take that thing, and it's gone pretty nutso. But in order to do this, well, we have to start somewhere, and that is where this comes in. Well, I already opened it because I was a little too excited and realized, hey, maybe I should do an unboxing video on it because I ordered a lot of stuff for lithium polymer or LiPo batteries, so, well, I can make my stuff just absolutely destroy. I'm not a huge fan of flywheels, but I'm assuming this will make me a huge fan of them. You'll notice the packaging here is kind of crazy. I would assume something as volatile as a lithium polymer battery, they would take a little more care in packaging, but no, they didn't. They just shoved it in a box. But the good news is, apparently, it shipped out from the warehouse this morning at 4 o'clock, and I don't know for how long, but it has been sitting in front of my door the entire time. So, looks like while they have a 2-day lead on getting everything out of the factory, out of the warehouse, I can get it within a day, because the West Coast warehouse for Hobby King, which is where I ordered all of this stuff, is located in, like, Portland. So, good on ya, Hobby King, good on ya. Not so good with the packaging job, you might want to work on that. But regardless, we've got a lot of stuff here, and I'm going to take most of it out and explain why I got it. And this may help some of you get into the whole LiPo game, because I know for a fact I didn't want to dick around with it, and, well, now I'm dicking around with it. So we are going to start with what is all of this crap? Well, this is a LiPo. This is also a LiPo. We will get to those, but first we have to go over stuff for using them. How about some connectors? Now, these were just a bag of 5. I think they sell them for like $5 or $4 or something like that. It is 5 female connectors. So these are on 12-gauge wire, which is insanely big, but the ends on them are already tinned, so I should be able to solder slightly smaller gauge wiring to that with no issue. But these are the female connectors and these are the male, so obviously my batteries are going to connect into these things, and these are kind of important. They're very, very nice. They're very quick to put together, no kind of issues. I've worked with some other connectors in the past, like the common ones you see on many RC car batteries from like Radio Shack and stuff. Those are crap. These are much, much better. These things, these are bags. These are like fiberglass or something bags. I can't remember, fiberglass something woven. The whole point is they're meant to prevent if a LiPo battery decides to catch on fire. Well, this is supposed to be flame retardant. Hopefully that means flame proof. I'm not quite sure, but basic idea here is that I don't have a big ammo box to store these things in while they're charging or in storage, so this will be here. I can put the battery in here, and if it does ever burst for whatever reason, well, this will keep it safe. And they were $1 each, and I got 2 of them for the 2 batteries I got. And then tons of, I think this is 16-gauge wire. They didn't have any of the black, so I got just red. And when I'm doing a blaster, I'll just take a marker and make, you know, notches and stuff in black to let me know what the negative is, and then keep the red for the positive. This was, I think, $1.13 a meter, and I got, I think, 10 meters of it. Doesn't seem like a whole lot, but this should be more than enough to do anything I'm planning to with the 3 blasters I have in the pipeline. This is a power supply. This is a power supply for the next thing, so we'll get back to this. This is the Turnigy Accucel-8, or 8150, I'm guessing. Made in China, comes in a very unimpressive box. It is not sealed with anything, which is kind of weird. Open it up, and we've got, well, this thing. And it says read manual, and there is no flippin' manual in here. Great job! Not that I have any idea how to use this, but the idea is, well, this charges your battery. You plug it in and it charges your batteries, and it is made of metal, and it's got a nice backlit screen on it, and then of course a fan, and it glows blue on the screen, and it balances and charges them and does all sorts of crazy stuff automatically. And it's got tons of sockets and stuff on it, and output and temperature sensors, and I have no idea what any of this is. In fact, off the top of my head, I don't even know how I'm going to power this thing. Oh, wait. Well, as far as I know, this only accepts power. This specific charger, this is where I start to get into the frustrations. This specific charger only works with a Turnigy style power supply, and in my case, an XT60 connector. So this is meant to plug into here, like so, and then this plugs into there. Kind of a problem, because this is meant for like a car battery, so you put these on like car terminals and charge your batteries while you're out in the field. I don't need any of that, but the good news is, all I have to do is take this thing right here, and if you have like a spare laptop one laying around, you don't need to get one of these. I don't know where my laptop one is. I have 2 dead laptops and couldn't tell where either of those things went, so I just got the power supply right here. And of course it says all this crazy warning stuff, because the whole point of this is that LiPos can be very dangerous if mishandled properly, or mishandled properly, depending on what you're looking for. But this is a power supply right here. You plug that end in there, that end into the wall, and this end is supposed to connect to your charger. I don't have that, so the whole point here is that you cut this end off. I take the red and the black wire, and I splice a connector, one of the ones I had earlier. Where did those go? I just take one of these things, I splice it on the end, and then, well, not one of those. One of these. We just take one of these things, we splice the end onto this, and then we plug this in, we're able to power this thing. So that's really useful, and it does work. I did read a comment where somebody had already done that with this exact charger right here. So everything should be awesome. Here's another set of alligator clips coming out the side of it. Why would those be permanently attached? That is kind of annoying. Never leave charger unattended, charge in safe area only. Yeah, trying to tell us right now how dangerous these things can be, and that's why you get the good stuff. So you can get cheaper chargers. This one happened to be like 47 bucks. It can charge up to an 8S LiPo, if I'm not mistaken. This is the power supply. It was 15 bucks. The connectors were 5, but the batteries themselves, let's open this one first. Oh, hey, little guide, and let's get this thing out. This is the main meat of the entire thing. There we go. This is a Turnigy Nanotech 1500 milliamp per hour 35 to 70C discharge 3S LiPo. This is not specifically meant to go into a blaster right now, but, you know, I have it, and it looks like it's got a balance connector right there, which plugs into there. Sweet. This is very compact, very small. It'll probably fit into a lot of different things, and it's got the holographic seal, so you know it's legit, kids. And it's already got an XT60 connector wired on it already. Sweet. This is for a different thing you will see very shortly. As soon as I get these charged up and I have a chance to test the thing I'm working on, you will see this in action. Awesome. Oh, that is so cool. However, the big mother effer is of course supposed to be the power on demand graphene, which is a magnetic clasp cardboard box. Open it up, we get this, we get a warning, we get a frickin' little bag. Oh my god. Overkill much? Seriously, overkill a little much, but there we are. This was a lot more expensive than this one, about $7 more if I'm not mistaken. It is a 1300 milliamp per hour, slightly less. However, the discharge is 45C. It's actually 45C constant, 90C burst. This is 35C constant, 70C discharge, so or 70C burst, so you get it. This is more powerful. Which is good. It's exactly what we need, and it is a very high-end, nice and compact 3S LiPo. Now, of course, I'm going to need things to honestly, use this with, and that will be coming in the next days. I ordered lots of motors from Duke. I paid him like 2 nights ago, and he hasn't gotten back to me on if he shipped those out yet, which is a little disappointing. But I've got lots of motors coming from Duke, and then of course I've got nice switches coming from Hawkeye 007 because he was nice enough to give me a good deal on some custom-made parts and some switches. That's pretty much everything. We've got all the connectors, we've got the chargers, we've got the LiPos, we've got the wires, we've got the switches, we've got the motors. Well, we are all ready to get all this stuff together. Now, I have no idea how this thing works. I'm going to ask Bobo. Hopefully he will teach me how to work it. But in terms of getting it up and running, it shouldn't be all that big of a deal. He says as he doesn't... Yeah, there we go. Yep. Gonna get this thing up and running, hopefully. Get it all charging my LiPos and be able to test some things out. So this is pretty much what you need to start doing your entire, LiPo phase. Now, I went kind of the mid-range here. These were a lot more expensive than just buying the plastic connector themselves, but I didn't want to mess with doing any of that kind of stuff. These are already on wires and heat shrink tubing and perfectly in there. I had problems trying to do that with some cheaper ones before, so I didn't mind shelling out the extra money. These were the cheapest I could possibly get, and hopefully they will work. They had good reviews, and I mean, they don't feel like crap to me. It's very interwoven, and it feels kind of waxy to the touch, so I know it's not normal bag stuff. This is, I think, the minimum you could get for using something like this wired. The reason why you buy extra wiring is so, well, you have to rewire your blaster first of all, but you get the thicker stuff so it doesn't heat up as much, which is, a problem with your putting a lot of power through it. Now, of course, the LiPos are dirt cheap. I mean, even the super expensive one, which will be the exact heart of my blaster, well, that only cost me 20 bucks, and I think this was like 13, and that's overkill, honestly. I just got the crazy expensive one because I could. And then the charger, or the power supply here, this was 15 bucks, and then the charger, this is something I went a little crazy on. You could normally get these for, I think, something like 28 bucks if you want to get a cheaper one. I got a slightly more expensive one because it has more features, the most noticeable of which is it can charge up to an 8S LiPo if I so choose. So, yeah, it's got some, I have to do some work on it, but not a big deal. Overall, everything you see right here cost me $133 shipped. But now in the future, when I need to buy more LiPos for whatever reason, these things can be as low as like 9 bucks for a good one, and that's going to be infinitely better than any kind of IMR cell or anything you could possibly buy. So seriously, it's worth the initial investment if you want that top tier performance. Now, keep in mind the highest grade flywheel blaster could probably only hit about 140, 150 FPS, and I still need to get my flywheels and everything in stock for this thing, but at least I've got motors and whatnot. But seriously, even the high end, they're only going to hit about that hard, which is still only super stock ranges, but I mean, that's what people want. They want that high power and instant rev up time, and this is how you get there. So whether that's up to you, I don't know. I'm just showing you that I'm spending, channel monies and whatnot on valuable stuff for the channel, which is super important because that's how we make this hobby worth playing in. I really hope all of this stuff works. I really, really hope all of this crap works. Thank you very much for joining me. That was a rather impromptu video. I'm going to start cutting some stuff and splicing stuff together. I got to dig out my heat shrink tubing and stuff like that. But I'm Walcom S7's hands. Thank you for watching. Like this video if you like this kind of stuff. Dislike it if you don't like it because flywheels are evil. I don't know. I'll see you in a different video.